In 2025, a multidisciplinary surgical team, the UCLA Health and Keck Medicine of USC, successfully performed the world's first human bladder transplant. The recipient, a 41-year-old man whose bladder had been removed due to cancer, also received a kidney from the same donor. Post-surgery, he demonstrated immediate improvement in kidney function and full integration of the new bladder, eliminating the need for dialysis. This milestone represents a potential paradigm shift in the treatment of bladder dysfunction. Historically, patients requiring bladder reconstruction had limited options: urostomy pouches, lifelong catheterization, or reconstructive surgeries using intestinal tissue, each associated with high complication rates such as chronic infections, metabolic imbalances, and compromised quality of life. A functioning transplanted bladder provides a transformative solution, offering both improved physiological outcomes and restored dignity for patients. In this briefing, we will discuss the human bladder transplantation market opportunity and explore two companies poised to capitalize on this innovation: OrganOx and eGenesis. 1. Clinical breakthrough and value proposition. The first successful human bladder transplant was performed by a team led by Dr. 𝗙𝗚𝗎𝗓 at Keck Medicine of USC and Dr. 𝗕𝗚𝗓𝗔𝗡𝗅 at UCLA Health. This achievement builds upon extensive prior work in animal models and human cadaveric transplantation. While not yet widely available, the procedure holds immense promise for the future of bladder reconstructive surgery. Historically, treating bladder dysfunction has been challenging. Patients often face repeated surgeries, infections, or dependence on external devices. But the bladder transplant offers hope for a functional cure. If proven safe and effective through further clinical study, the procedure could transform care for millions worldwide. 2. Market dynamics and niche opportunity. Bladder dysfunction affects millions globally. Common causes include trauma, congenital anomalies like spina bifida, bladder cancer surgeries, radiation injury, or neurogenic disorders. More than 40,000 cystectomies, bladder removal procedures, are performed annually in the United States alone. An estimated 600,000 patients live with end-stage bladder failure there. Many are chronically catheterized or rely on external urine collection devices. Currently, the main treatment is urinary diversion using bowel tissue, which results in significant morbidity. There is no commercially viable functional bladder replacement, leaving a major treatment void in reconstructive urology. However, the introduction of functional bladder transplantation opens access to an underserved but high-need market. If the procedure becomes standardized and scalable, it could unlock a global urological reconstructive market segment worth $3 to $5 billion within 10 years. This would represent a powerful adjunct market to the broader organ transplant and surgical robotics sectors. 3. Market access strategy and revenue forecast 2025-2030. To capture this opportunity, companies must act quickly. Key steps include establishing clinical development pathways, engaging with regulatory bodies, educating stakeholders, and implementing value-based pricing. If 1,000 patients undergo bladder transplantation annually across North America, Europe, and Asia, and each procedure is reimbursed at approximately $150,000, annual revenue could exceed $150 million. Over 5 years, assuming modest growth, cumulative revenue potential could reach $750 million. This excludes derivative opportunities in perfusion technology, surgical planning systems, and xenograft applications. 4. Strategic partnerships, OrganOx and eGenesis. Two companies well-positioned to capitalize on this breakthrough are OrganOx and eGenesis. OrganOx is a leader in organ preservation technologies. Their normothermic machine perfusion systems maintain organ viability during retrieval and implantation. While currently focused on the liver and kidney, their technology can be adapted to the bladder. eGenesis is a pioneer in producing immunologically compatible pig organs via gene editing. They've deactivated viruses and knocked out genes to prevent organ rejection. With expertise in xenotransplantation, eGenesis could offer off-the-shelf bladder grafts. 5. Year-by-year feasible partnership strategy 2025-2028. Through strategic R&D collaborations, clinical alliances, and commercialization pathways, both companies can create differentiated offerings with strong annuity-based revenue, global market access, and durable strategic positioning. Year 1 2025 to 2026. Focus on foundation and feasibility. OrganOx joined R&D with academic hospitals to adapt normothermic perfusion systems for bladder preservation. Begin feasibility trials focused on ischemic time extension and tissue quality assurance. eGenesis initiate a joint research agreement with urology departments and transplant teams to evaluate preclinical models of gene-edited pig bladders. Explore shared lab space and access translational grant funding. Year to 2026 to 2027. Drive clinical development and pilot deployment. OrganOx launch a commercial pilot program across 5 to 10 transplant centers offering OrganOx systems on a subscription or fee-per-use model. Begin compiling real-world data for regulatory submission. eGenesis form a co-development consortium with academic partners to start first-in-human compassionate use trials of xenotransplantation bladders. Establish an intellectual property co-ownership model and regulatory advisory board. Year 3 2027 to 2028. Secure market entry and strategic scaling. OrganOx formalize a strategic alliance with leading surgical robotics providers and urology centers. License proprietary bladder perfusion systems globally and introduce a preservation-as-a-service model. eGenesis launch a joint venture with transplant centers or biotech firms to commercialize first-generation gene-edited bladder scaffolds. Begin early sales under compassionate use and negotiate with private insurers. 6. Economic value over the next 3 years. OrganOx, Year 1, $2 to $4 million pilot program revenues. Year 2, $10 to $15 million initial deployment, service contracts. Year 3, $25 to $40 million global licensing and bundled systems, 3-year cumulative, $50 to $60 million eGenesis. Year 1, $3 to $5 million per clinical research and grant funding. Year 2, $15 to $25 million. Clinical development and early licensing deals. Year 3, $60 to $100 million early product sales and JV revenue, 3-year cumulative. $80 to $130 million. Conclusion. The successful human bladder transplant represents a disruptive advancement in surgical and regenerative medicine. For companies like OrganOx and eGenesis, this breakthrough presents a time-sensitive opportunity to lead in an emerging niche. Through carefully structured R&D collaborations, clinical alliances, and commercialization pathways, both companies can create differentiated offerings with strong annuity-based revenue, global market access, and durable strategic positioning. A coordinated push in the next 3 years could yield significant first-mover advantage, economic returns, and societal impact, transforming how bladder dysfunction is treated for generations to come.